Beautiful. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Helen. I am part of the developer marketing team here at Atlassian, and I am your host for today. Thank you so much for joining the Q1 installment of the Forge Roadmap webinar. We're really excited to have you guys with us. The purpose of this webinar is to share what we've shipped over the last quarter and also what we have in the pipeline coming soon for Forge. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Before we begin, I want to run through how to participate and catch up on anything you miss. The team is coming to you live today, and the presentation will be interactive. If you have a question at any point during the presentation, please make sure to drop it in the Q&A widget on Zoom. We'll save all of the questions until the end and get through as many as time permits. There are some cases where questions might require a little more research to properly answer. So if we aren't able to get your question live, please post it in the developer community, and we'll address all the questions afterwards. And finally, today's webinar is being recorded. You'll receive the recording via email within about a week or so. So for today's opening remarks, we're starting things off with Adarsh, who heads up the Forge product team. The focus will be on the progress we've made this year with Forge, mixed in with a couple of partner success stories. After that, we'll go into roadmap updates and then end things with a live Q&A. We have a wide range of updates to share today, including improvements to Forge Remote, Runtime, UI Kit, data residency, and honestly, so much more. So stay tuned until the end to hear about everything that the Forge product team has been shipping. And of course, here's our requisite disclaimer slide. The timeline we share today reflect our current investments in Forge and are estimated to the best of our ability. Please note that these are forward-looking statements and features and timelines are subject to change. So with that, I'm pleased to introduce our first speaker, Adarsh.
Thanks, Helen. Hello, everyone. My name is Adarsh. I'm the head of product for Forge, joining for another installment of Forge webinar, the first one of 2024. There are a lot of product updates to get into today, but before we do that, I want to bring everything together with some top-of-the-mind thoughts. Zooming out, we had our work cut out for us over the past few years, with a long list of features we needed to deliver to make Forge ready for partners and our developers. And while we were always keep tackling the next top features, it's always good to pause and look at Forge as a platform has really matured and come a long way in the last year. In no small part, this is all due to you. Every partner who has chosen Forge has helped us to make the platform stronger. You have tested Forge to help us ensure that it is ready, even for the biggest and the most complex apps. And we have used your feedback greatly to shape what we build. So thank you for being part of this journey, and we're excited to keep it going together. In just a moment, we will dive into some exciting updates, including these 4 standout new capabilities that significantly expand your capabilities as a developer. You now have more tools in your toolbox, which means more ways you can add value to customers, and not to mention the better developer experience that Forge brings in for you to build apps. When we ship new features like this, we get excited about what developers can build. As we all believe in Forge team that Forge is not just a platform, it's a launchpad for all of us to innovate and bring new ideas into the marketplace. It's about creating something that matters together and create the next wave of marketplace apps. I wanted to share a few stories from partners who have recently shared their experiences for the developer blog. Securely is an app that is built in response to a security vulnerability. As many of us know, security requires a quick response. So Abrega, a new partner with a long history and ecosystem, built a Forge app to get a solution into the hands of the customers in record time. But it's not just about the quick time to value partners are also seeing in Forge. Partners also seeing that Forge hosting is giving a peace of mind to their customers. Kelor is another partner doing exciting things on Forge. And they shared this bit of insight in a recent interview about Shopee, a very cool app that helps teams with IT procurement. And finally, Elements recently talked to us about their journey taking Elements Connect, one of their flagship apps from server to cloud. The cloud version was built on Connect, and it wasn't possible to replicate all the amazing features that server functionality had. But luckily, they recently made a breakthrough. Forge provided the missing functionality through custom fields, and Elements was able to build a helper app to switch the two together. It's great to see that partners, new and existing, embracing Forge and building their new ideas onto the platform. But now let's break it down and take a look at few numbers. Significantly more than half, about 65% of new apps that list in the marketplace each month are now built on Forge. And this is also good news for customers. We track the vulnerabilities detected in marketplace apps each quarter, and we noticed something interesting. Out of the 6 vulnerability categories commonly reported among marketplace apps, Forge apps reported 0 during the sample quarter. I want to share one last thought. The Elements team shared an incredible story of providing value to their customer by building a new feature powered by Forge. Previously, if you had an existing Connect app and you wanted something to build on Forge, you either had to rebuild the app or create a helper app, as Elements did. And that speaks to the innovation that our partner community, that Elements was able to do it. But we have recently shipped a new path that allows you to bring Forge-powered features to your Connect app. You don't need to do a full rewrite or a helper app in this case, like how Elements did. You can incrementally adopt Forge and get your features or Forge features onto your Connect app while also exploring the options on how you want to move completely from Connect to Forge. If you have apps on Connect today, we want you to be able to access all the investment that you are making on Forge. Next, I'm going to hand over to Sean, the PM driving this work, to talk about this a bit more.
Thanks, Adash. Hi, everyone. I'm Sean, and I'm a product manager for our Connect platform. You may be wondering up to the last slide why I'm here in a Forge webinar, but as Adash has mentioned, I have some really exciting updates to share in regards to our progress on making it possible for Connect apps to move to and adopt Forge capabilities. I'm excited to share that we've recently introduced a simple and incremental pathway for existing Connect apps to adopt Forge capabilities. By utilizing the CLI conversion tool, you can quickly migrate an existing Connect descriptor into a Forge manifest and deploy it within as little as 5 minutes. As long as your app is compatible with everything that's enabled today, it should work exactly the same when it's installed on Forge. From this point, you're able to choose your own adventure. You may want to add Forge features which didn't exist on Connect, UI modification, or custom fields, as Adash mentioned. You can start incrementally moving components to Forge on a journey to leverage Forge more deeply within your app. And you can also extend your existing backend into Forge components through the native support for Forge Remote in Atlassian Connect Express and Atlassian Connect Spring Boot. The best part about this is that none of these changes will impact your customers until you explicitly update the marketplace listing with the new Forge app. So you can have confidence in experimenting and trialing this journey as you go. More recently, Atlassian has moved many of our own Atlassian Labs apps onto Forge using this new pathway that we've built. Some of them have adopted Forge capabilities entirely, and some have leveraged some new features alongside their existing Connect modules. We understand that not every Connect app is able to make the move to Forge yet. However, we're working hard on enabling more apps to be able to move to Forge and adopt new capabilities and modules. We're currently working on making it possible for apps that utilize key Connect capabilities, such as dynamic webhooks, dynamic modules, cloud app migrations, across to Forge. These limitations are documented within our existing limitations and differences page, and a link to the associated Forge tickets is available there. So if you're interested and you wanted to come across, but you're blocked by one of these, follow those tickets and we'll keep them up to date as we progress. I'll now hand over to Sanandan, who's going to talk about Forge Cache.
Hey, thanks, Sean. Thank you for the exciting update. Hey, everyone. My name is Sunandan, and I'm a product manager with the Forge Storage team. And today, I'm excited to share with you something that we have been working on. Next slide, please. So we have been evaluating our offerings constantly for Forge, and I'm very excited to announce that we'll soon be launching an EAP for Forge Cache. So this new temporary solution will provide partners like yourself with a high throughput, low latency solution that should be able to solve for a lot of the performance pain points that you have to face today. Developers like yourself will be able to leverage Forge Cache to provide a better experience overall, a faster experience for your end customers as well. that should allow for more responsive apps that are much more pleasant to use as well. At this stage, we are confident and we believe that we can provide a high performance solution that should support things like atomic operations, that should ensure data consistency in the face of concurrency, flexible time to live up to 1 hour that you can configure, and then operations like get, set, increment, decrement, delete, etc. If you are interested in Forge Cache and you do believe that this storage solution will help unlock your development journeys in Forge, then we encourage you to fill out the interest form and be the first one to know when we are ready to go live. We'll also drop a link of the interest form in the chat, so I would encourage you to fill this out. A few things to note about the early access program. This will be a closed EAP, which means that you will need to provide a non-production app ID to opt in to get access and start testing. You will still need to sign up for the EAP in order to participate. This interest form is there to ensure that you receive updates about the EAP launch date as soon as we are ready. But we will also be sending updates via CDAC and changelogs in the coming days. So please keep an eye on for that as well on the community. We are looking forward to partnering with you and receiving your feedback so we can deliver a more powerful storage solution for you and help you build more delightful experiences. That's all for me. I would now hand over to Rohit to talk about observability.
Thank you, Sunandan. Hi, everyone. My name is Rohit Eddy. I'm a PM in the Forge ecosystem team focusing on observability and developer console. I'm going to walk you through some of the exciting features that we've launched in the last few months. Next slide, please. So first off, we've launched API metrics to help you identify issues with or optimize the performance of the APIs that are being used by your Forge apps. So most Forge apps use API calls. These are crucial to sort of some of the flows in your Forge apps, and therefore it's really important to have some visibility of them. So now we've shipped on the developer console, you can see a summary view of your API calls, how many calls you've made, how many have completed successfully, and how many errors are there, and a bit on the performance. And if you spot anything concerning, you can drill down into the detailed view where we've got more information about those API calls to help you debug your issues faster. I'm also excited to announce that these metrics are also available for you via API. So you can use the metrics API to export all the metrics into a third-party tool of your choice and monitor from there. So this is something that even our in-house teams at Atlassian use for their Forge apps. They use the metrics API to stream metrics over to SignalFX, where they're able to sort of monitor and set alerts on the metrics that they're monitoring. The second thing, on a similar note, one of the most requested features has been the ability to also stream logs over to third-party tools. And I'm excited to announce that this is now a feature that's available in EAP. So using this, you can now export logs to third-party tools such as Splunk, Datadog, New Relic. Slides have sort of skipped ahead. If we could move back. Yeah, you'll be able to export these logs, and these logs are available via the standard OTLP log data model format. So there's no surprises there in terms of integration. And from the early feedback we received, the integration is really easy and straightforward, and it's pretty quick to get it up and running for you. This is currently in early access. We're expecting to be able to ship this to GA in May. We'll share a link on the chat for those of you who are interested in participating in the EAP. And finally, while you can now export logs to third party, we've also made a lot of changes to the developer console experience to make it easier for you to sort of debug issues. The way we've done that is we've launched a brand new interface, and we've added a lot of new filters. You can now filter logs by site, by log level, and we've added a search. And so in this way, you can sort of find what you need and debug your issues faster. Another critical feature we've launched is we used to have a site limit of 95. That's been raised all the way up now to 400 sites. This rollout is in progress. We've launched it for nearly almost all apps except a few high volume apps, about 25 or so, which I have not been part of the initial rollout, but we'll roll it out to all apps next quarter. Along with that, we're also continuing to launch additional features to the new logs experience. We're going to add more filters, add more ways to sort of search through the logs, and that'll be shipping all of next quarter. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Adam.
Awesome. Thanks, Rohit. Hi, everyone. I'm Adam, another PM from the Forge team, this time the Forge Compute team. And a couple of updates from me, whether you're using our hosted compute or your own remote compute. So firstly, we're super excited about the new Node.js runtime that went into preview last December. You can flick over to the next slide. Still getting lots of positive feedback on both the performance and the ease of use now that full Node.js is available. And we're still working hard addressing those final gaps, like support for outbound OAuth 2, improving the logging resiliency, and fixing issues around apps that have really long lists of scopes and egress. And so exciting to announce that we will be promoting it into GA next month. So stay tuned for updates there. Just one heads up that we will be making the runtime version field in the manifest a mandatory field. So when we go GA, you will need to set that. You will still be able to stay on the old runtime for now, but you will need to explicitly put that in your manifest. Obviously, all the details will come out with the GA announcement. Speaking of GAs, the first wave of Forge Remote features have now moved into general availability. So Forge Remote is our set of capabilities that make it easier and more secure to integrate with a remote backend. And the GA release includes all the features we've shipped so far. So calling your remote from a Forge front end, sending product and lifecycle events to your remote backend, configuring scheduled triggers to invoke your remote backend, and calling back into the product APIs and the Forge storage APIs from your remote backend as well. And so very excited about all the use cases that can unlock, and we're still working ahead on those milestones. So the next one will be calling out to your remote from a hosted Forge function. And so that will work in a similar way to the way that it does from the front end at the moment. And that sort of lets you have a bit more of a hybrid approach. And finally, thanks to all the very constructive feedback I got on my RFC for Forge Remote offline access. We are going back to the drawing board on that plan. So stay tuned for another RFC when we've got more to share on that. And with that, I'll pass over to our newest PM, Gemma.
Thanks, Adam, for your update. Hey, everyone, my name is Gemma, and I'm really excited to have recently joined Forge as a product manager on UIKit. And today I'll be giving you an update on UIKit 2. UIKit 2 is the next evolution of UIKit and brings a host of new updates and features designed to improve the user interface and overall user experience. We recently released a big update to the UIKit 2 components that brings them more closely in line with the Atlassian design system and make UIKit far more capable and flexible. So let's take a look at some of the highlights then. So as you can see, we have inline, stack, and box are flexible layout primitives that allow you to easily structure and organize the elements within your app. XCSS provides CSS-like styling, and coupled with Atlassian's design tokens gives you wide-ranging customization options while maintaining design consistency. And on top of that, we've added many long-awaited components from the Atlassian design system, like dynamic table, and also enhanced most of the existing components with extra props and flexibility. Now, this alignment with the design system components does mean there are wide-ranging breaking changes to component names, props, and behaviors. So if you're upgrading from UIKit 1 or previous versions of UIKit 2, please refer to the changes guide for more information, which should be dropped into the chat for you to look at. And one more thing, UIKit 2 is now supported for rendering custom fields. So if you are waiting for custom fields support, now might be the time to check it out. Thanks for listening, and I'm going to pass it over to Shushan.
Great, thanks, Gemma. Hey everyone, I'm Sushant. Also one of the PMs on the Forge team, looking over storage for Forge. So today I want to provide an update on data residency for Forge hosted storage. So as we continue shifting customers from data center to cloud, meeting the customer's trust expectations remains a top priority for us. And one of the key areas of investment is on data residency, where we've been focused on helping customers keep their data in a location that they trust. So this is often important for meeting company requirements, and it can also help them meet regulatory requirements as well. So according to one of the customer surveys that we did, about 80% of the surveyed enterprise customers with app trust concerns cited that app data residency was either very or extremely important to them. However, for our partners, we know that delivering data residency for apps can be highly complex, and it requires a lot of effort and investment. So to make it easier for our partners to offer data residency, we have been working really hard to enable this feature for Forge hosted storage. And today I'm really excited to share that we have officially started the rollout of this important capability as a beta release. So partners with apps that exclusively use Forge hosted storage for storing in-scope end user data will be able to support data residency in all current and future Atlassian data residency locations. Once the rollout is complete, you'll have an efficient new way of meeting customer data residency needs with minimal additional investment. So that means Forge will take care of the hosting, the pinning, and the migration of the data that's stored within Forge hosted storage. So you can focus on building high quality apps for your customers. Partners will also get access to new set of audit logs to better understand the data residency events for these Forge apps. However, there are still some actions required to be done by partners, which I'll touch on a bit later. So now let's dive a bit deeper into this release. So starting today, any data stored by an app in Forge hosted storage will be progressively migrated to the same location as the host product. For any new installations of the Forge apps using hosted storage, their data will also progressively start to be hosted in the same location as the main product. Once this rollout is complete, Forge hosted storage will always be hosted in the same location as the primary product for all of the relevant installations. Any Forge apps that have declared in the manifest that it exclusively uses hosted storage for in-scope end user data will automatically be shown as pinned to the customers in the admin UI. When a customer admin requests the change of the location of the host product, these Forge apps will also automatically be pinned to the same location as well. When requesting a host product to change the locations, admins will also be able to review a list of apps that will be pinned alongside with the product at the same location for all of the in-scope end user data. In order to also ensure performance of these apps as the hosted storage component becomes multi-region, Forge hosted compute has also been deployed to all of the locations that Atlassian supports for data residency. But please note, customers will need to be on the latest major version for multi-region compute to apply and avoid any performance impacts. So for this, we will be reaching out to customers to encourage them to update their apps. So as mentioned earlier, there are some actions that partners and developers will need to take to enable data residency for the apps. These actions were notified to developers through a changelog that went out at the end of February. So firstly, if an app has any remotes or egress permission fetch defined, more information will be required to be declared in the manifest around the nature of this egress. This will enable us to understand if the app is exclusively using Forge hosted storage for storing in-scope end user data and ensures that customers see an accurate pinning status for the app. Secondly, an app redeployment is required to enable multi-region compute. So if you don't do this redeploy, it may result in performance impacts for some app customers. So if you've not already taken these actions, we highly recommend you to do so as soon as possible. And lastly, if your app uses Forge hosted storage exclusively for in-scope data, you will need to update your privacy and security tab responses to reflect that your app now supports data residency. You should also define in your app documentation on what data is in scope and out of scope. This way you can let the customers know about your own app's support for data residency. So once this staged rollout is complete, we will let you know when you can make these updates to the privacy and security tab responses and your app data residency documentation. So if you'd like more information about Forge data residency, please take a look at the developer documentation. The link should be dropped in the chat. So that's it from me. Thank you, everyone. I will now hand it back to Adam to take us through a Bitbucket update.
Thank you, Sushant. Yes, it is I, Adam. I am not Edmund, but I will do my best to give you the latest Bitbucket updates. We are sort of working on a mission to make Bitbucket sort of the most extensible cloud SCM and CI/CD product on the market. And we believe extensibility is a key enabler for large, complex organizations to operate effectively in the cloud. And so we're committed to providing you, our partners, and our customers with the tools they need to make that happen. So we're going to give you a quick overview of how we're going so far and what's coming soon. So just in the last 6 months, we've already made some really great progress on realizing our vision for becoming the most extensible cloud SCM and CI/CD product in the market. We went out live with our Forge Early Access in late September in 2023. And since then, we've gone from success to success. We got amazing feedback from the community at Atlas Camp in Copenhagen and saw some super powerful apps being built in just a matter of days. We then went live with our open beta for custom merge checks in late December, and Forge and Bitbucket Cloud went GA just a few weeks ago. The open beta of custom merge checks has been an amazing success. More than 3,000 customers have opted into the beta so far. Around 1,000 repos have custom merge checks being actively enforced, and around 300 custom merge check Forge apps have been built and deployed. And over 31,000 pull requests have been merged by customers with custom merge checks enforced against them. We are currently now preparing for our GA release, and we'll be introducing a new pull request review and checks configuration experience. The ability to specify individual checks as either recommended or required, allowing you to decide whether a check should block the merge or simply be informational. And we're adding several additional check app triggers for more fine-grained controls. GA is planned for late April 2024. And Dynamic Pipelines is also preparing for its GA release. Dynamic Pipelines will allow you to utilize Forge apps to modify CI/CD workflows at runtime. You'll be able to configure them at both the repository level for teams and the workspace level for organizations. Dynamic Pipelines supports the composition of pipeline workflows modified at every level of the hierarchy for extremely powerful CI/CD orchestration. GA is also planned for late next month. And with that, I'll pass over to Laura.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. I'm a product manager on the Confluence ecosystem team, and I'm excited to share some updates with you on what's coming for Forge for Confluence. Over the last year, my team has been involved in a number of initiatives like app access rules, audit logs, and Connect extensions to help our customers move to the cloud. And we're now starting to shift our focus to build out more Forge capabilities for Confluence, and I hope to share more improvements with you over the coming months. Today, I want to share that we just released support for the create history method for the Confluence global page module. So that means Forge now supports React routing in this module, which is something that many of you have been asking for, to be able to directly link to certain parts of your app. We're also currently working on enabling this for 2 additional modules, the global settings and the space settings module, and this should be coming in a few weeks. Next up, we're going to look at providing support for custom UI for inline macros. Inline macros are widely used in Confluence, and they already work with UIKit 1 and 2, but we heard feedback that many apps require more customization beyond UIKit. And finally, for bringing body macros to Forge. We know that this is a big blocker for many of you, and we're excited to tackle this and help you move your apps to Forge. And with that, I'll pass it back to Helen.
Thanks, Laura and team, for sharing updates. Now we're going to use the last few minutes to answer some questions. Thank you all for dropping those in the Q&A. So if you haven't dropped your questions in the Q&A yet, you can still do that now. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm just going to shift through and see what questions we got. Okay, we'll start off with this one. Gemma, I think this one's for you. Can we have some doc about UI Kit 2 and custom field? The current UI Kit 2 doc states that CF is not supported. Gemma, would you be able to take that one?
I can take that. I actually gave you guys a bit of a spoiler. It turns out that that's actually still at the moment in process. It was supposed to be done, but it's not quite yet there at the moment, but you guys can know now and see that that'll be coming up on our roadmap and something that'll be released. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Gemma, for clarifying that point. We'll move on to our next question. Adarsh, this one's for you. It says migration path from server/DC apps to cloud, counterpart built on Forge. I guess it's a little bit of context, but it says any updates on this? There was an EAP announced back in September 2023 for it to be released in early 2024, but no news yet. Do we have any updates that we can share, Adarsh?
Yeah, we are actually actively working on it. I don't have accurate timelines yet, but we're working on a path on how we can move your data from server or DC apps to Forge apps. So it's as we speak, people are working on it. So hopefully in the next webinar, we'll be able to give an update on how much we have progressed on that.
Makes sense. Thanks for answering that question. We'll move on to another one here. Sean, this one's for you. The question is asking, they're looking to migrate a connect dynamic content macro to a Forge macro module. An early access program was available back in 2022. Is migration functionality currently supported, allowing for the replacement of existing connect macros with a Forge macro, including the transfer of the connect macros configuration?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, it was announced as an EAP in 2022. It is still in EAP, so it aligns to our guidelines with regards to EAPs, previews, and GA. With that said, we are really keen for feedback on this. So absolutely something that you can try and provide feedback on. You're able to utilize that to request configuration data or data stored within that macro in Connect, and then pull that within the Forge custom UI or UI kit components and render that back out as a Forge macro. So definitely recommend giving this a try. Depending upon how things go, reach out, let us know. We're seeking any feedback we can from this EAP to drive for this capability.
Cool, thank you. We'll go here with our next question. This one's for you, Sushant. The question is, how and when are you going to notify customers that they need to update their apps for data residency? Adding the remote configuration to the manifest will cause a major version update, and we are worried that customers won't update. Do you mind taking that one, Sushant?
Of course. So thank you for the question. Yes, so we will be prioritizing for customers who will be impacted due to cross-region latency if they have not updated their apps yet, and we'll be doing this by directly emailing this list of customers, as well as providing notifications to general customers in the customer community. So this will likely go out towards the end of the rollout stages. Right now, this is looking towards probably the 3rd week of April when we'll start notifying all of these customers. Thank you.
Makes a ton of sense. Cool. We're gonna hand it over to Adam to answer the next question. This one's saying, currently there is a limitation on the number of scope/egress roles with Forge, which is too low for larger apps, around 50 total, easy with granular scopes. What is the timeline for fixing this?
Yeah, so that's sort of one of the things I briefly touched on talking about the new runtime. So that will be fixed very soon. So probably next week it will roll out. At least in the node runtime. I the top of my head, I can't remember if it's in the old runtime as well. I think it's probably both, but yeah, definitely in the new runtime in the next couple of weeks.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna hand it back to Darsh for another question. This one is saying, when will the marketplace submission be open for Bitbucket Forge apps? What about paid apps?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We all know that is very important for developers as you build more apps, and we are seeing a good traction of many Bitbucket private apps being built. So that is something top of our priority. We really want to get it to marketplace. Sorry to say again, I don't have an accurate timeline, but something we definitely want to get it on marketplace as soon as possible. So hopefully we'll share it back in the next webinar on that.
Perfect, thank you. Let's see, we have a few more questions trickling in. I'm gonna go next to Laura. This question is saying, we're very excited about new Confluence features coming to Forge. Is support for JSM users in macros on your roadmap?
Yeah, so we have not currently prioritized this, but I'd love to learn more about this use case and understand what your app is trying to do. If you could provide some more context, either on the relevant Forge ticket or within a post on CDAG, and feel free to tag me, and I'm happy to take a look and we can discuss this more.
Cool, thank you so much, Laura. All right, I'm gonna pass it back to Sean for another question. This question is coming from Boris. Says, if Atlassian can contact customers to upgrade apps for this, can the contact functionality be expanded to notify admins when apps in general offer major upgrades?
Yeah, so while we don't have anything roadmapped in this area, we do appreciate the challenge that this can face. We have been running a couple of experiments more recently to understand how we can drive further update behaviors. So, driving call to actions higher up in the product to increase discoverability, notifications, anything that kind of increases visibility of updates to admins. We've seen some success in that, and we'll keep driving through and experimenting and learning to see how we can potentially increase update rates and uptake in the future.
Awesome, thanks for answering that one. Let's see. Next question for Sean. Can you provide an update on email address access for Forge apps?
Definitely. So it's not something that's currently roadmapped. We do understand that it is important to existing Connect apps. If you are moving from a Connect app to Forge, you're able to retain this, so it does work out of the box as it does today. But if you are a Forge app, it's not something that is available yet. We understand the use case, but just don't have timing around when it would be available. But absolutely keen to hear more about this use case and how you plan to use this in Forge.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sean. Now we're going to take our last question for today, handing it over to Gemma to answer this one. This question is coming from Sean. The question is, there's a mention of a layout component in some of the UI Kit 2 docs. Can you elaborate on this? Will it be a helper to do CSS grid style layouts? Inline seem to lose some features, which you can also do via box. However, it's made the component structure a very deep mix of box / inline / stack components that could just be a grid / layout of some sort.
Yeah, that's a great question. The grid is definitely coming. It's currently in beta in the Atlassian design system. And once it's GA, we'll definitely be bringing it over to UIKit. So get excited for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, guys. Well, I think that wraps up our Q&A session for today. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have some additional questions that you didn't get to ask, no worries at all. You can post those to the developer community and the team here will address them afterwards. We enjoyed having you for this installment of the quarterly Forge Roadmap webinar, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time.